Today's reading is from Proverbs chapter 2, verses 1 to 6. And the church remembers Benedict of Nursia. Benedict lived in the 5th to the 6th centuries, and he became known as the father of Western monasticism because he was so influential on the spiritual life. He wrote a rule for his monks, that is to say, a pattern for living, which aimed at a middle way between extreme asceticism and self-indulgence. The rule of St. Benedict is still in print today, and in fact you can buy it from a well-known online retailer. Benedict emphasised the importance of humility for all, leaders as well as juniors, of never thinking of oneself as more important or greater than another. The abbot of the monastery should be a model of this humility and of service. The characteristic of his leadership style was that every member of the community was to have a voice and to be heard before the abbot would make a decision which all must obey. However new or young they were, they could all speak and be listened to. When you think of the period of history, this is remarkable. And when you think of today's campaigns for equality and for human rights, for the rights of disadvantaged groups who lack a voice, we can see how relevant this still is for us today, that everyone should have a voice and be heard, and how often this is lacking in society. The book of Proverbs is a kind of rule of life too. It's a collection of texts used in the education of the young in ancient Israel. Wise sayings, warnings against temptations, wine, women and song mainly, guidance in prudent decision-making, admonitions to work hard and not be lazy. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, comes from Proverbs. See how busy ants always are, and how they work together for the good of their community. Take note and learn. The passage in Proverbs tells us the wisdom is based on fear of the Lord. Proverbs doesn't mean terror. It means respect, awe, putting God first, looking up to God. Benedict knew that obedience flowed much more readily from love than from fear. And he said his monks should obey out of love, not from fear of punishment. Love for their abbot, love for God. Wisdom that puts God first will naturally encourage true humility, because it means putting myself further down the list. Pride and selfishness don't combine well with wisdom. There are Benedictine monasteries around the UK today you may have heard of or been to visit, the monasteries of Worth, Buckfast, Ampleforth, Downside, for example. Benedictine life today still runs according to the rule of a balanced life of work, rest and prayer. Slightly different from the Mars Bar slogan of work, rest and play. A balance which many of us struggle to achieve in our lives and which has been further upset by the coronavirus, giving us either too much rest or too much work, depending on our situation. Balance and moderation in our lives. Indeed, wise advice, health-giving advice, like the nutrients in our diet. We all need some of each: work, rest and prayer.